Welcome to another episode of the Design Build Delivers podcast brought to you by US CAD. I'm your host, Erin Looney. In this episode, we are going to talk about a popular topic in design build with two popular pros. Okay, I don't know if they're actually popular, but I say they are. I like them. I think you'll like them. Anyway, that topic is the crucial role of owner advisors in design build projects. Grace Lynn and Molly Jones are the best of the best in this arena, and it's wonderful to have them on to share their wealth of experience and insights into how owner advisors can impact project outcomes. This conversation will also get you even more excited for our upcoming Owner Advisor Primer update, available soon in the DBIA bookstore. Bookmark this page now. It's store.dbia.org. Molly and Grace will share more about what to expect in that release, as well as tout the value of both the primer and the owner advisor. Full stop. So let's meet our guests. Grace Lynn is a senior consultant at Turner Townsend in New York. She's an experienced owner advisor specializing in planning, design, and construction for large healthcare organizations. Starting as an architect, she transitioned to the owner side at Columbia University Irving Medical Center and now brings her unique perspective from both architecture and ownership to her current role. Grace is passionate about integrated delivery methods focusing on people, process, and performance to advance her clients' goals. And veteran Design Build Delivers guest Molly Jones is president and CEO of Jones Design Studio, an owner advisor and sustainability consulting firm. With offices in Tulsa and Little Rock, Molly leads her team in transforming mindsets and fostering sustainable outcomes through design build. An architect licensed in multiple states, Molly's career has evolved from practitioner to visionary, helping clients achieve their sustainability goals and innovative project performance. Now, we are covering a lot of ground here on such a seemingly singular topic, but as we'll see, this Owner Advisor Primer is just another of many tools in our design build tool belts. Since last year, we've had a veritable storm of resources come out, and this primer is just the next one up. My understanding is we are anticipating a fall release, so let's lay the groundwork here. Molly, let me ask you first, talk to us about the updates we can expect in the Owner Advisor Primer.
Probably the biggest one is that we had updated best practices that came out in March 2023, and those are now reflected within the content of the updated Owner Advisor Primer. The second big update was that we realigned the primer to address big topics, or topics in big areas, I should say. So the way that the primer is organized will really follow the organization of the best practices themselves. So there's a big introduction portion that really talks about what the definition of an owner advisor is, how you can leverage them, what the importance of an owner assessment, those types of topics. And then we go into part 2, which is about procuring the owner advisor, so how an owner would hire an owner advisor. And then part 3 is really about how the owner advisor supports a design build project during its procurement, contracting, and execution phases. And then, of course, at the end, we have a long list of resources to help provide additional information for those folks that are using the primer.
Yeah, we're indeed on track to roll out the new Owner Advisor Primer in the fall this year. There's a lot of collaboration and also intelligence that were put into this document. It's a privilege to be able to serve the industry in this capacity. So as Molly mentioned it, the new Owner Advisor Primer is organized to complement the design build done right best practices. The Owner Advisor Primer will help align the owner's needs and interests with the engagement of the owner advisor. The primer will describe the roles and qualifications expected of an owner advisor and the possible scope of work and when to onboard an owner advisor.
So I'm going to go full tilt with the cheesy puns today. I mean, really, let's be real. I don't know how that's different from any other episode, but stay with me here. We're going to keep in mind that Design Build Delivers tool belt and how DBIA's resources work together to get the job done. Let's talk now about the relationship between the Universal Best Practices and the Owner Advisor Primer specifically. You briefly mentioned it in your responses just a moment ago, both of you, but let's focus more now on how these two resources in particular work in tandem.
So the primary role of the owner advisor is to guide the delivery process and support owners in timely decision-making. With that primary role, the primer will highlight the knowledge and experience in the procurement, contracting, and execution required of the owner advisor. It will give insights into how the owner advisor supports the owner during the procurement, contracting, and execution phases of design build projects.
The relationship between the two primers, the Universal Best Practice Primer and the Owner Advisor Primer, is that they work in conjunction with each other. So if you're an owner who's looking to engage an owner advisor, or maybe you have folks on staff that have the skill set and the capacity to be the owner advisor, taking this owner advisor primer is really a complementing handbook and guide for what that owner advisor would be doing within the context of a design build done right best practice project. They work together, they're complementary. The owner advisor primer follows the structure of the best practice primer in order to help facilitate them being used in conjunction with each other.
I think that answers a question people have and maybe didn't know they had, or maybe didn't know they should ask. Because we put things out there and we say, this is going to be really great for your project, and that's true, it is. But when you start gathering your resources, the question might then shift to, well, this information here in this document is kind of repeated in this other document, so do I need both? And it sounds like the answer is, yeah, you do need both. But it's just a matter then of figuring out for your project how to weave them together. But before we move on to more about the primer, let's zoom out a bit. We're going to talk about the idea of an owner advisor on a wider scale. Now, we have covered this topic a few times. Molly, you know that because you covered it on the Design Build Delivers podcast before I got here. And we've covered it throughout some of our other channels like our blog, but just for the sake of review, let's have a quick crash course. So where and how does an owner advisor fit into a design build project? Walk us through that relationship. Grace, I'll start with you.
The role of owner advisors fits seamlessly into a design build project. The leadership, technical, and facilitative skills of owner advisors are instrumental in rallying the entire project team around one team, one goal principle that underpins a streamlined delivery system. An owner advisor can guide owners in thoroughly considering the procurement issues, assessing the risk, and supporting strategic decision-making. An owner advisor's leadership in collaborative delivery can promote diversity and inclusion as well, and energize innovation to help organizations effect transformation. Owners' priorities vary, and each project is unique. And this precept of no one-size-fits-all underscores the need to align owner advisors' qualifications and competence with the needs and interests of the owners recruiting an owner advisor.
When we talk about the role of the owner advisor, that role can vary. The scope of work can vary, and we've, in the primer, tried to address that in conjunction with some resources that have been brought forth from DBIA, including the contract for the owner advisor and the exhibit, which is the scope of work exhibit. And even that exhibit is not intended to be all-inclusive. So because that scope of work varies, the role of the owner advisor and the depth of that role in the project team will also vary. And as Grace mentioned, there's really three big categories of skill sets that an owner advisor needs to be really excellent at what they do. And then there's the soft skills, which are really the facilitative skills. And that is where, when we talk about the relationship of an owner advisor to the rest of the project team, it's really these facilitative skills and these soft skills, which is where that magic happens. And so we talk a lot about that in the primer and how important those facilitative skills are. And as far as the impact that an owner advisor can have on a project team, these facilitative skills are really where owner advisors are looking for continued and continuous team cohesion and collaboration across the team, especially when we move from pre-award, where we've got an owner team and a design builder and design build team, which are distinct and separate from each other. One put out the procurement, the other's responding to the procurement. And when we move into post-award, that team goes through a metamorphosis and becomes a single entity. And Grace has mentioned it, this one team, one goal mentality. And shifting and bringing that team into a one team mentality where we have one set of goals, which is a successful project, hopefully a wildly successful project, is really where those facilitative skills come into play. And that's really where a lot of the magic happens in design build, is bringing that cohesive team together, expanding it in post award, and maintaining it throughout.
And this comes up all the time. Grace, you just reiterated it, but design build is not one size fits all. In fact, it isn't always the right choice either. So what about for an owner advisor? Again, you're dealing in the gray here simply by the fact that no two projects are alike, no two owners are alike, and no two owner advisors are alike. So when is it a good time to engage an owner advisor?
I'm going to just answer that simply by saying it's always a good idea to engage an owner advisor. Owner advisors should be starting with the selection of project delivery method. An owner advisor is going to help you as an owner perform an owner assessment and understand your culture, your mindset, your capabilities and skill sets within your organization, and make an unbiased recommendation on the project delivery system. Now, I know that we're on a DBIA podcast, and I know we're talking about a DBIA primer, but there's nothing worse than a failed design build project for someone who loves design build. And so for me and for, I believe, other good owner advisors, we're not going to recommend that an owner engage in design build if they're not ready for it, and especially not in design build done right. So we will be interested in helping owners match up with the delivery system that will work best for their project and their culture and their organization, and also make recommendations on how they can move more into alignment with the success factors that have been proven in the design build done right delivery model.
I agree with Molly. And to reap the reward of having an owner advisor on a project, it is advisable to bring the owner advisor on board as early as possible. And whether we're using design build or other project delivery systems, engaging an owner advisor early helps in developing the framework and strategies for procurement, contracting, and execution. And right from the start, owner advisors can assist owners in establishing performance metrics that are crucial for ensuring a successful project and an optimal outcome.
Are you interested in sustainable design and construction practices but concerned about profitability? USCAD, an Archons company, helps forward-thinking ENR top-ranked AEC firms in mitigating risk and driving profit through digitalization using Autodesk AEC technology. To learn more, contact uscad.com/DBIA for a free 30-minute consultation. That's uscad.com/DBIA. As we know, design build is great when it's great. Successful projects are cause for celebration, and as you just said, Molly, they're also painful when they're not successful. So increasing the chances for success is why DBIA has such an extensive library of guidance. And one of those guidelines is, in fact, that design build isn't always the answer for every project. If you are going to do it right. And realistically, for us to do design build right, we have to acknowledge there are times when it isn't the answer. Molly, you stressed an owner advisor always a good idea, and Grace, you agreed. You both mentioned briefly how that owner advisor assists in the selection of the project delivery method. So whether it's design build, whether it's any form of project delivery, how does that owner advisor assist in the selection of the right project delivery method?
The big thing is to perform the owner assessment, right? And that's really all about knowing who you are as an owning organization, understanding the capacity and the skills and the mindset that you have, both in your technical group and your contracting group and your legal. Really understanding that and knowing that you've made that mental shift, an owner advisor can help you. They can see that pretty clearly, and they can really help you understand that, yes, you've made that mental shift, or, we've got some areas where we may need to do some additional education and training or have some additional experience. And so that assessment, it's one of the most critical things in the process, and it's about knowing who you are as that owning organization and where your opportunities exist and where you have opportunities for improvement as well. Again, I can't say it enough. In my opinion, loving design build as much as I do, I really dislike design build projects that fail. And so making sure we match the project delivery system to the project and the owner is absolutely critical. And this owner assessment is really how we do that.
Yeah, Molly, we don't like design build projects that fail here at DBIA either.
Right.
Yeah. Indeed, determining the project delivery method is one of the most important decisions made by owners when they're embarking on a construction project. Project drivers and owner culture have fundamental impacts on the delivery method selected. And the primary role of the owner advisor is to guide the delivery process and support owners in timely decision making. The owner advisors act as the single point of contact for the project team, and he or she must serve without any conflict of interest. That's important for an owner advisor to have in terms of helping the owner assess those risks and making informed decisions. A qualified owner advisor supports the analysis and selection of the delivery method, determining the optimal approach for a specific owner, and project requires a broad understanding of various delivery methods and a commitment to a balanced evaluation of the pros and cons of conventional delivery versus collaborative methodologies such as design build. Just to emphasize owner advisors' importance a little bit more, is to say that owner advocates delivery methods grounded in a collaborative and integrated approach where the owner, designer, and contractor work together in the project's best interest.
In that ideal world of design build done right that we wish for and we work so hard for, everything moves smoothly, everyone is willing to play along with what's best for the project, and everyone is on board. It is, as Grace just emphasized, collaborative. Now, what are some ways then to get everyone on a project on board when it isn't so easy? So this owner advisor, for instance, might be a stranger to a team of people who've worked together successfully before, or a team might have done a great job in the past, consistently, without an owner advisor at all, and now they're bringing it up as an idea. There might be any number of reasons for resistance, that's just 2 examples. So what obstacles do you encounter when you first start engaging with an owner as an owner advisor?
In many cases, in all projects, as a matter of fact, the owner's needs and interests must first be understood, because owners set their goals and values, and therefore owners set the tone. The owner advisor then shares their qualifications and experience while representing the owner's interest. Owner advisor responds and acts on the owner's behalf to deliver the owner advisor's scope of services. Now, you might ask, so why are there pushbacks sometimes? In my world, I see if there's a lack of understanding of the principles under design build done right, this could be one of the reasons for pushback. Driving other industry professionals to the design build table could be challenging sometimes in organizations that resist change. Shifting from design build to alternative methods, such as design build or progressive design build, requires a mental shift. And legislation may not always support the use of progressive design build, for example. The selection of owner advisor purely based on qualification and without an open, competitive bidding process may sometimes not garner enough support from supervisory agencies and procurement policymakers. So owners who do not have the resources to conduct contract negotiations may also push back. So in a nutshell, it's sometimes the lack of understanding of the principles of the design build done right that causes pushback.
Really, when we talk about, and we did earlier, we talked about these soft skills that owner advisors have. And that's really how owner advisors rally people around the project. So it really comes out of creating that culture that's based on trust and mutual respect across the entire project team, and really supports and encourages that collaboration and innovative culture as well. Those are really some of the ways that owner advisors help rally people around the project and get to this one project, one goal mentality. Some of the obstacles that I'm seeing, they come out of really a lack of understanding about the actual implementation of the design build done right best practices and the implementing techniques, and a lack of experience with that. So what we see happening in some projects is that we'll see an owner who has engaged in some DBIA training and believes that they're ready to go it alone, right? And what we find is that is a critically important time for an owner to engage the services of an owner advisor, because the owner advisor has the experience and the knowledge across multiple project types, multiple owners, different implementing techniques and strategies for implementing the best practices. And they can bring all of that experience to the table and help that owner gain the knowledge and experience that they need to be their owner advisor if they have the skill set and the capacity to do so. So that's where I see that we get a lot of pushback. They have this capacity to do it, but they don't have the skill set fully developed yet. When we encounter that, we really try to help owners understand that the role of the owner advisor is really to, although they're project centric, they're also leading the way, and you are being educated by them so that as time goes by and you gain more experience, you can take more of that scope in-house when you have the skill set in addition to the capacity.
DBIA offers a standard form of contract for design-build owner-advisor services in our bookstore. Again, if you didn't bookmark it earlier, it's store.dbia.org. Along with all those other resources we've talked about today, there are so many more, whether they're owner-advisor focused or otherwise. So let's talk a bit now about how the Owner Advisor Primer and the contract can help an owner create a scope of services specifically for bringing on an owner advisor.
What we've got is the DB 501 contract. That is the standard form of contract between the design builder and the owner advisor for owner advisor services. In the primer, we do talk about the fact that the scope is not, as Grace has mentioned, it's not one size fits all. The scope of the owner advisor needs to be carefully crafted to complement, like I've mentioned, the skills and capacity that an owner has in-house and the tasks that then are related to those that they want to self-perform. So it's the meshing of these two things, the skills and capacity of the owner, what the project needs, and what the owner advisor can bring to the table for that project. I've mentioned the exhibit in DB 501. It's a pretty exhaustive list, but it's not a complete list, but it really is a great place for owners to start thinking, what services do I need from my owner advisor? And what we see happening oftentimes is that we are engaged in helping to write the scope of work for the services that we provide. And again, we do that by meshing those needs of what is available in-house at the owner and what they need to complement the project and round out those services.
What you said is very true because owner advisor scope of services is rooted in and shaped by the owner's needs and values. For example, the owner advisor can assemble a team that fits the owner's interests and goals to deliver the projects effectively and efficiently. And what are the gaps in-house that they're trying to fill? Those will help define the scope of services that an owner advisor may provide. DBIA's new primer on owner advisor will guide owners in selecting an owner advisor for needs alignment. So what the owner aims to achieve will drive the needs and what qualifications and expertise are required to meet those needs. These will help define the scope of work of an owner advisor.
It sounds to me like if you could take a theme away from our conversation so far, it would be that the owner advisor should not be an afterthought and that having an owner advisor from the start is key. Am I close?
I think the way I would probably put it is engage them early. And if you can't, engage them as early as you can. So, because they can impact a project in a positive way at any stage of the project. They maximize their impact when they are hired and brought on the project team as early as possible, even before you've selected a project delivery method. So that part is really key, and that's why we're pushing that. But they can provide a real positive impact. The lesson learned case that I shared in the example was we were brought on to draft the RFP. RFQ had already been done, and the shortlist was done independent of our input. Although I did have a couple phone calls during that process that I answered. That still was a very successful engagement.
It goes back to the needs alignment. And whatever stage they're in the process, there are some needs that they identify needing owner advisors to come in and help them out. The advisement of engaging owner advisor early is to enable the perspective that owner advisor can share with the owner so that they could see a bird's eye view of how the project could be and also help set up the roadmap for project implementation. Those are some of the values also that owner advisor can bring to the owner when brought on board as early as possible.
Okay, final question. Let's fancy ourselves futurists for just a moment. How do you see the role of the owner advisor evolving in the future of design build projects?
We're heading towards 47 to 50% of the market share just within the next handful of years. And with design build really no longer an alternative project delivery method as it's becoming more and more mainstream, we need more and more excellent owner advisors that really have taken on the best practices, are dedicated to their implementation, and we just need more of them. So, because that kind of market share, we don't have currently, my assessment is that we don't have enough excellent owner advisors to really handle that. And again, as I've mentioned, I don't like design build projects that fail. DBIA doesn't like design build projects that fail. And really the key to ensuring success is to fill this owner advisor role on these projects, especially for owners that are new to design build delivery and using the best practices and implementing them. So I see that role changing. The term owner advisor is a relatively new term within the profession and the related construction industry. And so as that term gains more and more public awareness, we're going to see more and more people offering that service as well. I would love to see them make sure that, like I said, that they're excellent in that and that they have aligned themselves with implementing the design build done right best practices. Where do I see it 15 years from now? I see owners that intentionally make the decision that even though they have the skill set and the capacity in-house, what they don't have is that capacity and skill set and the experience across multiple projects in the marketplace. And so they continue to use owner advisors because they're bringing all of that knowledge across the breadth of their entire practice to their project, and that they understand the value proposition that's engaged with that experience, meeting them where they're at to execute their projects.
I would say that change is constant. That's just the nature of the market landscape. And as project delivery practice innovates, owner advisors' function also evolves. The increasing complexity of projects and contractual obligations require more stewardship. And so with the crystal ball I have here, I'd say that the owner advisor's role as a steward of the owner's interest will be valued even more. To Molly's point, we need more of them. I couldn't agree more. And the more integrated projects become, take the progressive design build model for an example. Owner advisors equipped with leadership, technical, and facilitative skill sets best align the project team with the owner's priorities throughout the project. And this allows the owners to focus on their core business, knowing their interests are addressed throughout the project lifecycle.
Okay, I said final question, but let's build on that a little bit. What new challenges or opportunities might arise, and how should the industry prepare?
Well, I'll give a shameless plug for the previous podcast on the book that I'm writing called Build Beautifully, which is really about the intersection of project delivery, selection, and sustainability. And I think we're going to see owner advisors need to be highly skilled at sustainability and at strategies for mitigating climate change as we go forward. Design build is the best project delivery method in our toolbox for delivering sustainable outcomes. And as a result of that, we really need to have on the owner side of the table someone that is very well versed in bringing those outcomes to bear on a project so that they can meet the design builder where they're at and with the performance criteria that have been put into the RFP in the case of best value. And then in the case of progressive, help that evolve through the validation process so that we have a project that not only meets the requirements that and basically the owner's why for its existence, but also helps mitigate climate change. So I see that as a real opportunity for owner advisors. It's the reason I'm an owner advisor. And I think that that opportunity is going to become more and more prevalent as we move through the next handful of years, as we really need to tackle significant issues with climate change that are right in front of us today.
Change is constantly happening, and that presents challenges, but with challenges, opportunities are also presented. To best prepare for the future, education is an important piece that DBIA offers to the industry. So I think this is a very meaningful purpose that design build offers to the industry. So that's what I would advocate: continued education, always constantly learning about the new trends in the market, the industry. That way we are more prepared to face the challenges, whatever the future brings to us. It could be in the aspect of sustainability, as Molly mentioned. It could be other economic aspects, and how do we manage costs better? What are the techniques and tools we could employ to deliver projects more efficiently? We need talents. We need more owner advisor to help the owner organizations.
You heard it here. Maybe first, but maybe you already knew it. The industry needs more qualified and passionate owner advisors. Whether you're thinking about filling that gap yourself, or bringing an owner advisor into the project, or you just want to stay on top of the rapid growth of design build, keep an eye out for the release of the Owner Advisor Primer coming this fall, and available for free in the DBIA bookstore at, say it with me, store.dbia.org. Just something else to be excited about for fall. You've got leaves changing, colder weather, pumpkin spice. Do we still care about that? And the updated guidance on owner advisors in design build projects. That we do care about. There's more to this chat, too. Stay tuned for a bonus episode where Grace and Molly paint a picture of the impact of an owner advisor on a couple real-world projects and talk about the lessons learned from those cases. Thanks to Molly and Grace for joining the show. Thanks, as always, to you for listening. And thanks to Fred Yee, whose editing and production skills make the show sound good. And thanks to USCAD for making the Design Build Delivers podcast possible. Learn more at uscad.com/DBIA.